Welcome to Joey's Social Club. I'm Joey Seifert. Today's special guest, Frank Cocanate. Frank, good to have you on the show.
Hey, Joey, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Just coming off the high of the Deadly Associates show on Reels. I mean, it was just very powerful show. Well done.
You had some good, thank you. You had some good FaceTime on that show.
Oh, I told the one producer I'm overwhelmed because I really didn't know how much you were going to keep me on the show, on the actual show.
Yeah.
Or the documentary.
Well, you showed good, and you're an engaging character, as you know. I see you all over the place all the time. There's somebody that doesn't rest in Chicago. It's you. You're everywhere.
I try to stay on top of stuff. I try to, stand up politically and in the corruption in this town, actually the whole county.
Yeah, I think the corruption, obviously, that's where I think my brother and I and Chuck and some other people, as well as yourself, are going to start to focus on, the next part of the story is the corruption that has just had a stranglehold on the city for the longest, forever, as you know. Is that right. Something that you've always kind of, leaned towards, like looking into or breaking down the corruption and the people involved in the corruption?
Well, what happened was, I was born into the Democratic Party. My father was involved in politics and the outfit.
Okay.
And it wasn't really by choice in those days with my dad. He's from Grand Avenue, Grand and Western, probably one of the birthplaces of the Chicago mob.
Yeah, you're in the heart of it.
In the heart of it. So you just eventually just grow into it. And when you get a city job, which my father got me, helped me get, it's the mob. Most of the people you work with is the Chicago mob, a lot of mobsters, kids, a lot of, corrupt politicians, family. And you grow into it and really not knowing how corrupt things are.
Yeah. So touch base on that. You talked about it a little bit in the documentary. Touch base on what was your first official, let's say, city job? I lost your audio.
Caller, I'm on the air. And anyway, I'm sorry, Joe. It was my
That's
wife.
Okay. That's all right.
All right. When I first saw it, I was actually, I'd have to say in high school, where I saw the real power of the politicians, the real, they're like, I lost it. My gosh darn it. The real, how powerful they were. First of all, my dad would work with the city, then go to another job. He'd go do his own side work with his buildings, but also we had a beef stand and we had towing companies.
Okay.
A towing business. So I was very young. I got to say I was 8 or 9. And every Saturday, Sunday, we'd go to the towing business in Chicago, and we had a contract with the city. And every day, a beautiful car would pull up, a brand new Pontiac. And I'm telling you, I was 8 years old. I'm jumping around. And the person that owned that car was Johnny DeFranza, Johnny No Nos DeFranza.
That name pops up a lot.
Pardon me?
That name keeps popping up a lot.
Well, I grew up around that. I grew up around him, not knowing how powerful the guy is, or he was a killer, or if he was this, or a mobster. But I just show up with my dad, and we had this towing company. He'd pull up and he's joking and he'd come up and, hey, almost like Lombardo did with you guys.
Yeah.
Hey, little guy, little Frankie, come here, and he'd play around. But he was dressed to the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
The wingtip shoes. He was a thin guy, nice looking guy, and he'd always go meet with my uncle most of the time. My uncle Tony, Uncle Ski, they called him.
Okay.
And then I'd go to my dad, and afterwards, we'd go eat with all of us. And I said, Dad, who is that? He says, he's a friend. He's a business partner. I'm 8 years old.
Yeah.
And as I got older, this guy was more and more around, and I'd hear my mom complaining, you know, uh, you got to do all the work. These guys aren't, this guy isn't helping. My dad, what happened was my dad got the contract from the city. Johnny moved in and he was a partner,
Okay.
and he got part of the money because
So
of my
that's
uncle.
similar situation. It's the same old song and
Exactly.
dance. Yeah.
That's why the documentary was so powerful to me. That's what they do. They're
Yeah.
parasites. You know, they look for opportunities to move in. So my father would cry to my mother in front of me, you know, so I'd hear this. And right from the get-go, I was not a big fan of the mob. I really
Okay.
wasn't. I just thought, man, this guy was so cool, and he's such a bad guy. You know, he's taking money, and you know, he's taking our money. He's taking, and he don't have to do anything. But in
Yeah.
those days, you had to have a, like your dad would know, is a Chinaman. Somebody, we call them a Chinaman. Somebody that had to back you up or be with you, or they had, you grew up with the mafia. If you didn't have somebody like him, somebody was going to come and take over. You know, take over the business.
Like a sponsor.
So that was really my big first influence with the corruption with the mob. We had a contract with the city. We eventually lost the contract because of Johnny, because the newspapers wrote that there's a towing business on the north side. It was called Autotown Towing
Mm-hmm.
that had mob influence. So we lost the contract because of Johnny.
Okay. So then
So-
at that point, so you're growing up, at that point, you're getting a bad taste in your mouth. How do you continue to move forward and still not be in the outfit, but still being associated and then going into your first city job?
Well, as I'm growing up, you know, like I said, we went fishing with this guy, with my uncle. He'd come over in the Villa Park. We were living in Villa Park, by the way, which we
And was
got
he the
caught.
only guy? Was Johnny the only guy that would come around?
No, he had some underlings, you know, they would come to the house, a guy named Moose. And be honest with you, as a kid, I don't even remember what his last name was. He ended up dying in a fire in Melrose Park. But he would come by, they were dropping off hot items in our garage. You know, and my dad would say, so-and-so's coming by, leave them alone and don't go in the garage. Don't go in the garage.
Yeah.
Because we had big shelves and we're in Villa Park. But there was others. I mean, on Grand Avenue, there was the, Lombardo was there, but I'm a kid. As I'm growing up, well, let's put it to as I'm growing up, you're into this life. You're into this. And you got to make your own decision. But I had my father too telling me, don't get involved with these people.
He's trying to sway you away.
Exactly. And I'd say,
Okay.
well, Dad. I said, Dad. He says, I have no choice at this time because of my brother.
Yeah.
My brother and my family. My grandfather was part of the 42 gang. The old 42,
Yeah.
where they built the stills and stuff. You know, my grandfather was another guy. He was in a big mob, you know, like he knew they were just, they're psycho, number one, but they're everything is theirs. They don't give money. They take. My grandfather had to make a living. He had, his kids on Grand Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
He was a carpenter by trade. So that's what he did. He actually built stills with Giancana, in this 42 gang.
Oh, really?
Pardon me?
No, I just said, oh, really? Like I was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And believe me, there's a book, The Don, that my grandfather's in. I actually saved. My father had it in his drawer. He wouldn't even tell us. I went to his drawer one day that Romer, I think, wrote it. I'm looking through the book, and then I seen a page saved, and it was where the 42 gang, and it's the who's who of, those neighborhoods. Taylor Street, there's Taylor Street guys, Grand and Western. But so I knew where we were at. We had a nice house in Villa, nothing fantastic. And my dad had a city job, a nice job. And we had money coming in. We had a couple side businesses. So I'm growing up, saying, hey, I think we have some some clout, some influence here, So I'm in high school. I'm, going about my life. We lived in one of those American Dream suburbs, Villa Park at the time.
Okay.
So I'm going, people are asking me, what is your dad? Am I going off track? Because I want to stay, with you on this about the outfit. I don't want to go, I'll start talking about high school and what a football star I am. But,
Yeah.
But anyway, we're growing up and people are asking me, even in grammar school, what does your dad do for a living? And I go back and say to my mom, what does dad do? He's a businessman.
He's a businessman.
Because we couldn't live in Chicago. I mean, in Villa Park. My dad was a city worker. There was a rule you had to stay in Chicago.
You had to stay in the city limits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we never could tell people what our dad did. I actually, as a youngster, from like up until high school, I knew in high school what he did, but we didn't know what he did. And even in high school, guys would say, man, what is your dad? Because my dad would come home, we had a backyard with those high trees, and he would just go sit in the yard and have a beer or a glass of wine. And he really didn't buy. He sat with my mother outside. You know what I mean? So he really didn't get involved with the, we were growing up.
Yeah.
But as I got older, in high school, I'm going along. We have to move back into Chicago. But in the process, after high school, most guys were looking to what colleges were they were going to go to.
Yeah.
My dad said, I have a city job for you. We have a city job in the sewer department. It was. And I said,
so he never wanted you to be involved with the outfit, but leaving high school, he says, I have a city job for you, knowing who basically runs all those city jobs.
He figured it's good money.
Yeah.
And you could always do other stuff, and get the city job because, by the way, I didn't have to work that much.
And you get the pension.
And you get the pension. You were getting health insurance.
Yeah.
So at 19, he goes, we have a job. There's a job for you. I have, over in the store. I said, sewer department. I mean, what the heck? He goes, it's a good job. And at that time, it was the highest paying city job, labor job. You had to be union. You had to join the union. I show up there, the first, because I'm nervous. You go downtown. He took me downtown, and you go see Donovan, Daley's top advisor, Tom Donovan at City Hall. He's around 76.
Now, is that typically how you get the city job? Is that how normal people would get the city job? You go see Tom Donovan?
He was the guy you went through Daley. You went through Daley's guys. Donovan, when you got the job, you did, because he spelled it out to you. Not, you'd go see him at City Hall, and he'd go through the books, and he'd say, here, we're sending you to sewer department. Yeah, everything went through Daley. Everything. I mean, the outfit was the old First Ward, but actually, that's who got me the job. The Pat Marcy's and the Diarco, who I never met, but my dad knew them. That's who they told. My dad was asking them for a job for my son. My brother already had a job with the city. My older brother, he worked with motor maintenance. Same way. So my dad was conditioned. Couldn't wait to get a city job because he knew you were set for life.
Yeah. Now, when you got that job, did you think in the back of your head at all that, hey, there's are there any strings? Did you ask any question? Are there any strings attached to this? Is there?
Right. Good question. Because I really didn't think that it had nothing to do with the outfit. I thought there was more political. You know what I mean? Because my dad rang doorbells for the Capuzzi's and the First Ward. I don't know so much ringing doorbells. He kicked in. He kicked into those organizations.
Okay.
So I thought it was separate than the mob. I really did. I thought, hey, this is political. I did like knocking on doors and talking to people and all that, because you actually did go out there like a kid. We had a couple, they called them, oh my God, precincts. We had a precinct. You were assigned precincts in different areas.
Okay.
So I thought the job was not legit. I knew it wasn't legit, but I thought it was almost separate from the outfit. There was the outfit, the killers and the shakedown guys and the Juice Alone guys. And then there was this scam, the city worker, where you go to work, you got good pay. I mean, I started the job. It was probably, and I don't want to, but at the time, what if it was today? It was probably $30 an hour back then. You know what I mean? But it was like $11, $12 an hour.
Yeah.
And when I first, I said, "Dad, is this real? Is this?" When I got those checks, I'm like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. I did not think it was outfit.
Okay. So you didn't know that it was all intertwined at that time.
But you did find out awful quick when you showed up at work.
Okay, so
You
let's
know?
talk about that. How fast did you find out that the outfit and the politics and everything was extremely intertwined?
Okay. They assigned me. I went to see Donovan. Donovan sent me to a guy named Quigley. He ran the sort department
Okay.
because that's it was almost like being made. You know, you had to go see this guy. He'd look at you, and he knew where he was sending you. And he, you know, why do you want this job? You know, I want you to work and all this. He went through this whole thing. He was one of those like old ward bosses.
Okay.
He goes, he says, I'm sending you to this guy, Nettie Medea, on the South Side. Because my dad was on the South by Sox Park. My brother Gabe worked on the South Side. That
Hold on one second. You're cutting out.
So he sends me to this. Oh boy.
You're back.
How about
Okay,
now?
you're good.
All right. So they sent me to this 31st and Shields by Sox Park, a warehouse.
Okay.
And they say, you go over there and go see Nettie Medea. So my dad has two drivers, two guys from Taylor's Track. I remember their names. It was Rocco Braglia and Benny Deturi. They were big on Taylor Street with the city, but they were bookies, or they were tight with the outfit there.
Those
They drove
those
me
don't
over.
sound too much like Italian names.
No, it's on Irish.
Yeah.
Irish. So I'm a young kid, and I'm like, oh man, what's man? So they're laughing and joking with me. He said, now you're officially a bum. They told me you're officially a city worker bum, and I'm like, you know, what do they mean by that? But I sort of understood what they meant.
Yeah.
So they pull me in. I go see this guy Nettie, and I had long hair, by the way. That's another thing that the guy said to me: get a haircut, the commissioner. It was the commissioner. And I had hair, and I go,
Yeah, the hippie phase going.
Oh yeah, it was like, you know, I look like an American Indian. Like I walk into this garage, and it's, you know, it's like, it was probably like your dad's office or something. I walk in, I'm here to see Nettie. Now there's guys laying all over. There's a guy in the bench sleeping. There's 4 or 5 guys by the dock area. The office is one of those little side offices, and in the big yard.
Yeah.
There's got to be 10 guys just sitting around there doing mostly Italian and Irish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're on the clock.
Pardon me?
But they're on the clock.
Oh, without a doubt. You didn't do nothing. So I go in there. I say, I'm go blah blah blah. I say, I'm sitting here, Nettie Medea. Who are you? Frank Cocanate. Blah blah blah. So this Nettie sends me out there. Right there, I knew something. This ain't normal here. There's something wrong. And they're looking at the scratch sheets. You know, at the time, horse racing was
from the horse track. Yeah,
it was huge. So I walk in there, and they're all looking at and laughing and joking, and they're coughing. There's no work being done. There's no, hey, we got to get this cave in or this. Anyway, so this Nettie sends me out on a crew of old guys. These guys had to be 70 years old in a little pickup.
Mm-hmm.
He says, you go with them to learn the job. So I went with these older guys. They had an average 70 years old, 68. I'll say 68 to 70. They were on their way out, but they knew the job. So he did do me a favor to send me out there. And these guys, were asking questions, and they sort of educated me on a lot of stuff. Especially this guy named Frank Diver, who I learned a lot. He was big in the 11th Ward with the dailies. But then you go along, and as years pass, everybody you're associated with is politicians, kids, or outfit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they would almost tell you, hey, do you know who I am? I'm so-and-so. I'm, a lot of guys from Chinatown, a lot of the Chinatown from the LaPetrie crew, and the roadies. The roadies were huge. Bertucci's. and they were good people. They're all good people, the kids. I mean, the kids were like me. I mean, you're in it, you put into a situation, you really think that's how life is.
Yeah.
So
Right. You don't know any different because that's how you were raised.
exactly.
Like for you,
Exactly.
this is normal. For us, it was the same thing.
Right.
It's normal. You don't like,
don't
it's
know.
not weird to me that I called Joe Lombardo Uncle Joe. I mean, it was
Exactly.
none of that
That's
stuff was
why
weird to
your
us.
shows like you're going along. Your dad is friends with these guys, so and you're like your mom. You think this is how it is.
Right.
So
You got the
yeah,
education quick riding around with these guys.
quick. You shut your mouth, like my dad would say. But even at work this night, he would say, don't talk to this guy. You don't have to talk to that guy. Because they were all 90% schemers. Everybody was on trying to figure you out and what you do, because they were all connected to somebody. Everybody was connected. Believe me, everybody was, with Grand Avenue crew, with Chinatown crew, even Melrose, some of Melrose Park guys, Melrose, Elmwood Park, the unions were all, everything you did. But you learn quick, real quick.
So driving around with these guys, they're educating you, and then you're running into other family members that are pulling the "do you know who I am" kind of thing. Was there ever a point that those people try to sway you to start working along with the outfit guys more than you're working with the city guys, I guess? Like, are they trying to pull you into the outfit?
Absolutely. If they see you're like a little nuts or got some balls or a little, they start, hey, why don't you meet us on, at the time, I was hanging a lot on Grand Avenue because my family was originally from Grand and Western.
Okay.
So another big influence was my cousin. Right? He was Irish and Italian. His name was Pat Downey. They called him Dugan. But he was a huge influence on me. He started, because I left Villa Park, I started hanging naturally with my cousin, who was from my family's neighborhood.
Okay.
But then you start seeing and then I started doing some fighting and to start doing some rough stuff. And I guess trying to go into that direction. So
you crossed in, you started working with people.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Oop, you froze.
And I started saying, hey man, this is and then you see, and Joe, you see this life, it looks real shiny on the outside.
On the outside, it looks great. I mean, you got nice clothes, you got a lot of money, you got, nice cars, and everybody knows you. And
right.
Yeah.
Right. If you walked in with one of these guys, like, I want to say a roadie. I'm going to use them because they were very impressive to me when I first came on, because they had Bruno Roadie was the Alderman, and they just had they were powerful. Even the mayor was scared daily. So I started hanging around some of them guys, but you see their life. They were always traveling, beautiful clothes. Rush Street was the place. That's all they hung on, Rush, PS Chicago. I don't want to date myself, but
I mean, a lot of the restaurants and stuff.
A lot of the restaurants, they knew all the hot restaurants, and it was a clique. It was a clique of people. And I started, going into it. Grand Avenue had some real tough street guys and they were hilarious. They were always clowning around. So I sort of, started playing around. And like you said, when did it start becoming, you start getting, to hang around by certain guys to say, hey, meet me over here. They'd start out with, hey, take a ride with me. Take a ride.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And now you find yourself.
And it's not like you can say no.
Pardon me?
It's not like you're going to be like, no, I'm not going to.
No, because if you say no, they get offended, number one, but they'll never, they give you like a little cold shoulder.
Right. Then you're out. Right. You're not the buddy.
You're out, right?
Yeah.
So I say, yeah, I'll go with you, and then they're going to places. A lot of the places were gambling dens. You know what I mean? Where guys were gambling in the base. A lot of poker games. They were shaking them down, and I started going with this one guy, this Christy Saratella. I mean, I don't know if somebody on the air might know him, and I don't want to offend him. he was another influence of mine. And, but it was mostly, they were always looking for somebody. And it, like even in your documentary, how you made a point of saying Joey Lombardo was 5'5".
Mhm.
Spalaccia was 5'4". How tall was Lombardo?
I honestly, I don't remember, but I know they were all smaller
But they were
stature,
all small. So they were never looking for, it didn't matter how tall you were, how big, it's what balls you had.
Yeah,
If
they had
said,
huge ego.
go in that guy's car and fuck, or go hit that guy in the fucking head, or
Yeah.
excuse my language. Or
No, you're good.
That's
This
what
is an
that's
explicit
what they
show,
look.
so
Yes, that's what they look for. They didn't look, because most of those, most big guys, I'm not insulting big guys, but a little guy usually has something to prove all the time. We had that
right.
Napoleon
It's
syndrome.
the Napoleon
So-
complex.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I passed a lot of tests. I didn't, at that point, they didn't ask me to kill, but I was going with people, not even, eventually I gravitated to the Calabreses, which we'll get later, but
Yeah.
I was around a lot of the Grand Avenue guys, a lot of the Grand Avenue third tier guys with Lombardo, fourth tier guys, some guys with Johnny. You know, and these were lower level that were working on their for him, but they didn't know who I was riding with. You know what I'm saying? They were recruiting on their own guys, and mostly probably just using guys. So I was around it. I was around a lot of the juice loans, you know, collecting, but it really wasn't something I was doing to be part of the. I just said I'm just taking a ride with the guy. You know what I'm saying? And they drove me. And I'll be honest, Joe, I didn't need the money because I had a city job and we had side jobs. You know, we were doing cement work and I had money. It wasn't about money. It was about the whole game. But ultimately, I still always thought my main job was a politician knocking on doors to keep the job. Oh, yeah, because every election, we had to go work a precinct with the first ward or wherever they sent us to get the votes. That was the must. That's what kept this power in place, in my opinion. So
the higher up. So you're moving on, you're progressing, you're doing more things with more people, obviously getting more comfortable. How did you then continuing from there and then getting in touch or getting in with some of the Calabreses? How did you decide at some point to be like, nope, I'm walking away. I'm not working with you guys anymore. I'm not dealing with any of you guys anymore. And I'm going my own direction and staying into the politics.
Right. You start getting messed up. You start playing with a lot of coke and drugs. You start getting, because they do that. You're out there, you're partying all night, and you start just getting into a lifestyle that, you know, you say to yourself, I'm going to die here. I'm going to die.
Right.
You know, you're running around, you're fighting. You don't know if you're going to get shot at or hit in the head by somebody, because you go into places, you don't, strip clubs, gambling places, and you might be with a guy that's going to get killed or was stealing. You know, you don't know. And most of these guys will sell you out for a quarter. You know, they'll say, it wasn't me, it was Cocanate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everybody loves to hate Cocanate.
Yeah, he's stealing. It ain't me. So I'm going to say I wanted, where I really hit a crossroads was 25, 26. And I said, that's enough for me. I'm not, number one, the drugs. I said, I had enough. You know, I had enough going out, and I got to find out who I am. And I give my sisters a lot of credit for helping me, because they were always on me. Because my mother was gone. My father was always, you know, doing other stuff. But nothing, you know, he was going out, and he was, you know, he was dating other women. You know what I'm saying? Not that he neglected, he was great, but he wasn't on top of us like he used to be.
Well, he's living his life. Yeah.
Exactly. So I started getting off the drugs, and I started saying, let me use my head here and get more into the political stuff and to see what's really going on. And I in that process, which is funny, and it is sort of sidetracked. They sent me to another office, another facility, and that's where I met Frank Calabrese Jr. And
Okay.
I really didn't know who he was. And but there were other guys there. There was Harry Allman's kid. You know, there was I can't even off the top of my head, but there was some guys, a lot of guys there. There were the roadies, nephews, but they're all, you know, they were all up north. I never even knew how nice it was on the north side because I worked most of the time on the south in Bridgeport.
Okay.
So I go up there and I meet these guys. When I walked in over there, they're like, trouble. And I'm like, I said, Sabatino was there. A lot of guys from Grand Avenue, you know, Grand and Western.
Yeah.
Because it was like a resort, you know what I mean, compared on the north. Because on the south side, you had some bad neighborhoods you had to work. You know, there was a lot of rough neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Up north, it was like, you know, it was beautiful. So these guys, most guys had shorts on, gym shoes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I started, you know, trying to fit in over here, and they all had money. It was a more, to me, it was a higher class politician and mafia guy or outfit guy. You know what I mean? They weren't your normal South Side guys. These guys were a little more educated. Most of their fathers were trying to steer them in another direction. But that's where I met Frank Calabrese. They put us on a crew, and there was Mike Terranova too. Mike Terranova was his cousin. He was a little guy. He looked like Joe Pesci.
Oh, okay. Another little guy.
Another little guy.
Yeah.
Actually, he made me look tall. So he was short. So we started working together and I really didn't know who they were. Because I was more in tune to Grand and Western and the Chinatown guys, not the Elmwood Park. They were Elmwood Parkway. You know what I mean? Elmwood Park was like a little higher class my outfit kid.
Okay.
So I started talking to them, and they started inviting me going out. You know, why don't you meet us over here, over there?
Yeah.
Calabrese knew who I was. He knew.
Now that's Calabrese Jr., right?
Junior, not the father yet. I didn't meet the father yet. So he talked to me and he say, because I got caught. I got in trouble with some stuff with guns a lot of times. You know, because you couldn't have conceal and carry. If you got caught with a gun, it was a big. You know, they go through the ringer, and there was some other things. So he knew that. He knew it. So they were like badge of honors. So he took a liking to me, the kid. Now this is the son.
Okay.
So he'd say, hey, let's go for a drink. Let's go do this. And I started getting close to him. It was me, Terranova, this Johnny Marino. I don't want to name these other guys because
that's
Johnny
okay.
Marino,
I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to.
Yeah, but then we became like a little crew for Frankie, the kid. So when the Frankie had to go do stuff, he took us with him. You know, take a ride with me. Frankie was a Juice Loan guy. Frankie did do some beatings for his dad with his uncle, but he never talked about it because Frank Jr. was a tough guy. He was he was a boxer, a Golden Glove boxer.
And he's big. I mean, he's not a little guy.
No, he's like 6'4" or something. Yeah. You know, I said to him, you ain't Italian. I said, you're Irish. And he was half Irish. His family were the Handleys. They had the bartenders. I was enamored by the guy because of his clout. He had the outfit. You know, if his father was an up-and-comer with Angelo on the South Side.
Mm-hmm. That's Angelo LaPietra.
And his mother, LaPietra.
Yeah.
His dad was, I didn't know until I started asking myself, and they go, he's a bad guy, man, Frank. Tough. He's a tough guy, his father. And his mother was close to the dailies with the Handleys.
Okay.
You know, with the bartenders and restaurant union. Huge. So
you're right back in the middle of power again.
Exactly. And I'm cleaned up though. I'm cleaned up. You know, I'm not doing but I'm really seeing I said, this guy's a twofer. He's got the politicians and he's got the mob.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I never met somebody like this guy, and how he acted. He acted pretty different, not like he like an all-American kind of guy, like sports, running around, you know, um, traveling, you know what I mean? So I started getting close to him, the son now. So
Okay.
we'd go to this place, and he saw me, how I acted. I wouldn't get involved unless he needed me. You could just tell when somebody, you don't just jump in to impress anybody. You gotta, if a guy was giving him a little trouble, I'd step in. You know what I'm saying? It's
Well, you
not
had
like,
you had a pedigree at that point. You've been born into this, so you knew how to act and how to.
exactly. And I was more street, meaning I was brought up the hard way, working. Yeah, Frankie was a little more, Holy Cross and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, I had a beautiful life in Villa Park. I
Yeah.
still talk about the town. I thank my father and my mother. Villa Park was my dreamland. I got pulled out of there by the Dailies, or I still would have probably been in Villa Park.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I start growing and getting up with him. We start traveling to Acapulco. We start, now he says, would you want to meet my dad? And I go, sure. His dad
And
was
did you know anything about his dad at that time?
No, I knew his dad was not powerful, but a killer. I didn't know that because I asked questions. I said, who's this guy's father?
Yeah.
He says, he's a killer. He's one of the top. And they gave me he was one of the guys that killed all those guys when they were all finding dead, when they robbed a Carlos house.
When all the guys burglarized the Cardos?
Because I had my dad and the Johnny guys and all, they knew who he was, and they told me, just don't fuck with this guy.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not going to fuck with him. I'm just hanging with his son.
Yeah.
So we're going along. So he says, let's go meet. My dad he's having a dinner, and I forgot what place. He picked different restaurants all the time, the father.
Okay.
And he'd invite 8, 9 guys that he trusted, the Imperadas, some of his crew. I didn't even know half the guys when I first went there. And we start talking, it was the initial, just to get to know him. And he was, he was very charming, just like you said at Lombardo. How are you? How's your family? We start talking politics, and we start talking. So, but it was a initiation into meeting him, because he knew I had some guts and balls. So it was just, he wanted to meet me. Plus I'm hanging with his son and running around.
So do you think he said to Junior, hey, bring this guy in so I can meet him?
Yes. There's no doubt in my mind. Because Junior didn't do nothing unless the father, and you didn't go sit with those guys. Nicky was there too. Nicky was always with him. Nicky Calabrese, the uncle.
Yeah.
Always with him. And and just like your show showed, he was not an intimidating guy. He was thin, very funny. He had wit. You know what I mean? He was not like your typical guy that sat there, hey, who the fuck? But he played with, he'd go into you, and then as you get to know him, he was just whatever. He was a good guy. He wasn't your typical. But these dinners started happening then every I want to say every month and a half. And I got closer and closer. You start drinking, you start talking.
Sure.
We're starting to really become close. He started to like me, and he liked it. I went with Frankie, and I actually never asked Frankie for money. Frankie would give me money. Here's 200. Here's 3. When you go with him, I never said, hey, I want to be on the payroll. So eventually, the father invited me to the house. He had the house in Elmwood Park, but he was right in the process of divorce. He married the chief of police daughter, Semino's in Melrose Park.
Okay.
He left his wife, and he married Semino's daughter. And at that time, they had a big house built in Oak Brook, and he would invite me out there. And that's where it really became, like you sit in the living room, just like the movies. What do you want to do? Blah, talk about your life. And that's where I became close. And he'd say, I appreciate you helping my son. Blah, blah, blah. You help us, we help you.
Yeah.
And okay, so now I'm running around. He actually starts. He goes, "Hey, I hear you have a place in Florida."
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to me, Frankie knew because I would talk about it. We had cottages in Port St. Lucie, Florida. He
Okay.
had one, and we were down. We didn't even know it till he said they knew it because I told Frankie, but Frankie would never say we have one too.
Yeah.
He said, I live down the street from you in Port St. Lucie. We have a place, me and Diane. Why don't you come down with me? We'll meet and blah, 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 just to hang with.
Yeah.
Right. So I started going down there and we became close. We'd go fishing. He fish. He was a nut, but we barbecue with my family. We became real close to father, me, the father, and his family.
And I think
Frankie,
that's one thing, you talk about fishing and other stuff like that, but I think that's, one thing a lot of people forget. Like there's all these huge stories about this guy's a killer and this guy's a loan shark and this guy's this, but everybody forgets they were just like normal people too,
like
they like to do normal
your dad,
things. And
exactly. Your dad didn't just say, your dad became close, especially with that Milwaukee film.
yeah,
I sincerely believe if the Milwaukee Phil didn't get killed or died from that, your dad would have been alive. I think he would have protected you because they did have a bond, even though it was a money bond. I think that was we call him the Chinaman, that guy that sincerely liked your father.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When he left, these vultures came in, but with him, that's what it was. We were building a relationship. The son liked me a lot. I liked, the son. The father, probably liked me, but he was more looking at money. What can we use this guy
right? What
for?
can I do with this guy?
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of times that's what happens too, is you think you're like building this rapport and, oh, this guy likes me, but really in the back of their head, they're like, I can use him and I know what I can, they're just trying to figure you out, what they can use you for.
Exactly. I'm telling you, that's why I watched this, and it just lit this stuff up in my mind.
Yeah.
Watching the documentaries, because I tell you what, it was powerful. But that's what he was doing, and if I had to, he was just bringing me in. This like Michael Corleone said, they're pulling me in. So now you're in Oakbrook, you're in Florida. He'd get a convertible. He says, we're in Port St. Lucie. Now, Kurt was with us too a couple of times, and me and Kurt became close. But the guy I enjoyed the most was he had a young son named Nicky. And Nicky was always down there. And me and Nicky used to go play basketball and hang. I loved the guy. The guy was like a second son, a brother to me. But the father would sort of hang with us too. And with Diane, we go out with my wife. Out of nowhere, he'd say, come on, we're going to go to Miami. We'd get in the car. Who knows what we were doing there? You know what I mean? We'd go to these places, you wait here or stand over here. And I didn't ask, hey, what are we doing here? Why are we here? And it was probably for business, but I didn't ask nothing. And that's probably why he liked me a lot. I just didn't say, hey, why are we here right now? I'm scared or this or that. I just sat in the car. I'd say, I'm going to go down the street. Or he'd say, come on in, but sit out here.
Yeah. And
it was always nice places. It was always the penthouse or this or that. And at that time, I don't even know it was in I think it was Trafficani or somebody or whatever.
Yeah.
But you could see too in his way and through Frankie, the father was moving up. The father he was a killer. His crew was killers. And I knew that. It was not like I was naive, like, oh, this guy's like your dad knew who Lombardo was. He knew he knew every one of those guys.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But in the process too, you got to remember that's where I learned a lot about the politics by being in this world, because politics were pimps, to be honest with you. And you saw it. They were scared crapless, shitless of Lombardo and Calabrese. If you were your outfit on the job, you didn't even have to work. You come in, you leave, come and go as you please. They call them hand crews. They put us on hand crews.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't even check us. We come and go and do what we want. And then when the heat came down, we'd come in. But it was going on I can't explain it all at once, but
Right.
it was an unbelievable world at the time. And I want to say the 80s going into the 90s. It was you go to work, you're playing, you're making money. You
Yeah.
leave the job. Half of your thing was, and I hate if I'm bouncing around, but it had to do with my relationship with Calabrese and politics, my father, my uncle. You know what I'm saying? It all blended into one, and I was in a perfect spot. You know what I'm saying?
So how do you go from that? You're in that perfect spot. How do you go from that perfect spot where you're starting to achieve power, you're starting to hang with some serious, very serious people,
Right.
and how does all that stop? Because it's not like usually you can walk in to say, hey, Mr. Calabrese Senior, I just,
quit.
it's
Right.
been fun, but I quit. He'd be like, yeah, that's funny, kid, get the fuck
Right.
out of here. How do you sever all those relationships and go on to do what you're doing now?
What happened was, this was the 80s. Things started falling apart. Jane, the old man died, and I'm going to, fast forward to this spot.
Yeah.
Daly died. It was a vacuum. It was like history. Daly died. They put in Bolandic. Bolandic lost to Jane Byrne. Now you're constantly, the power structure starting to fall apart, the machine.
Yeah.
The outfit. And when they say machine, the Democrat, it's not it's the mob and the Democrats, or political. That's why I call it the political mob. It started fracturing because when Daley died, he was the ultimate boss, the boss.
Mm-hmm.
When he died, there were people split on Bolandic. When Bolandic lost to Jane Byrne, now it's crumbling more. So now you started having faction. The mob was pretty strong, but the mob needs the elected officials to keep their thing strong. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when that started falling apart, you couldn't trust people. You couldn't do this. You had to worry about different laws were changing. The FBI.
Yeah.
So it was starting, and I saw it, and I saw, and then what I didn't like seeing were guys getting whacked for silly shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm watching guys like, the big one was Ken Ito. You remember when the Ken Ito hit?
I did.
And he lived. He lived.
Well, he lived.
When
Yeah.
When he got hit, and it was sort of before that too. The Spilotro. The Spilotro was, I think, later.
Spilotros were in the mid 80s. I think it was like 80, somewhere mid 80s.
Right.
Because I was in high school when that happened, and I was actually in high school with one of the nieces of the Spilotros.
Really?
When they got killed.
When the Spilotros got hit.
Yeah, that was mid 80s. So
80s. All right. So, well, really, was he?
You were talking about Ken Ito, though.
Ken Ito. So is that what we're still talking about, or is that something different?
What's that?
Well, anyway, Ken Ito, I think I was still in my 20s or whatever. I might not even have been with a Keller, but what it did for me, the Ito hit, was Gattuso and Campisi were loyal guys. Gattuso was just actually coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when they did that hit and screwed it up and got killed for it, it set someone off in my head saying, what the fuck, man? Why? Here's guys, you kill them. They didn't mean to fuck it up. The bullets didn't work or something.
I think it was actually something with the silencer.
Yeah. Was it the silencer?
I'm pretty sure it had something to do with the silencer. We have somebody, other people that come on the show.
They hit him in the head and he lived. You want to talk about a god with him.
Yeah.
But the thing that stuck with me, and I hope I'm not bouncing around too much, but these are things that you asked why I started getting
right.
out.
Why you separated?
I see this and I go, you fuck up, they kill you. This is I just don't like it. I don't like it. That means if
they think you fucked up, they'll still kill you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Things got to be like that for a while.
If they go to you, Joey, this Cocanate, I don't know. He could be, somebody said.
Right. You're going to get smoked.
Yeah, you get smoked. And they were doing that all over. Another one that influenced me was the Borsellino hit, which the stories are, I heard it right from Frank Sr. We were in a car. And I said, blah, blah, just like I'm talking to you. I said, Frank, some of this stuff is, over the top now. I mean, and I said, like Tony Borsellino. But I mean, he goes, Tony Borsellino came to him. Now, this is the father time, Frankie Jr., if you ever talk, he don't talk to me that much, but he ever talked on your show or ever, you could ask him. His father said, we're sitting in the car. He goes, Tony came to him saying, I got problems. Could you speak for me there? Petrocelli's blah telling people this, and there's a big problem. I think they're going to kill me.
Now, Petrocelli, you're talking Butch Petrocelli.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Who was a killer, stone killer. Actually, his son worked with me on the city. That's what I'm talking about. They say, like people say, oh, you're with the mob. With the mob. You work for the city of Chicago, you're with the mob.
Yeah.
I went in that job and it was all mobsters hitting me in the head. Hey, Cocanate, hey. I was a mobster being a city worker.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he tells me, but Petrocelli was taking the money for Harry Allman. You know who Harry Allman is. He was a killer. And that was the problems. He said this, they said that. Petrocelli had higher rank. They believed him. Now, this is the old man telling me this.
Okay.
Calabrese. And they go kill Tony Borsellino, a huge earner, killer, a top flight guy in the outfit. And not that, if it was a football team, he would be one of the stars on the team. You know what I'm saying? This guy he was tough. If Angelo or them said, kill that. He was one of the top killers at that time. Calabrese loved him. And he said, Frank, could you help me on this? Because I didn't take the money. I didn't take it. When Calabrese went to Angelo, this is how sort of close I was with the old man.
Yeah.
But Frankie's in the car too. And like we're saying, they're trying to bring me up. You know what I mean? And Calabrese tells me, I went to Angelo. I said, can we save him on this? Or I said, you know what Angelo told him? Have him kill. All right, we'll kill you and we'll leave him alive. Because the order was down from the Cardos or whoever, the higher ups, whoever gave the order that that's what they do, and they killed him. And that bothered me.
I mean, if the order comes down for them, you're doing it no matter what. Right.
So you're asking the different things. So when that hit bothered me, why would you kill a guy he was a star. He was a rising star. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. We're picking back up with, I had some connection issues and we're back with Frank. Frank, we're picking back up with, when things were going downhill and you decided, hey, this isn't my route. I'm going to go a different route.
Well, like we were talking about, the peak was in the 80s and 90s with the politicians and the outfit. Things started splintering. Different mayors were being elected. Other people felt they can grab some of the power that was always in the one person. So going along with Frank Calabrese, I really sort of hooked my wagon to him and the son. But then they started getting into trouble. They started getting indicted, and they really were on to the father.
Okay.
And there's some stuff in between, but that really was like what's going on? I mean, there was wires at somebody wore a wire at I think this guy's name was Matt. He had an auto place in Elmwood Park on Frankie and this Johnny Marino.
Okay.
So they indicted them, all of them. Frankie, they claim said some things. I don't know what was said, but having to do with muscling the guy and taking over his business and his house.
Something. Is that junior or senior?
Junior.
Okay.
When the old man went there, because the old man would go there, because the old man would follow Frankie all over, whatever Frankie was involved in at that time, the old man would follow up, but the old man would not say much. They did have pictures of the old man going there, but nothing really being said. How's it go? Let's go eat.
He was smart.
I got to tell you something, Joe. He taught me a lot. He was a very, very, very smart guy. He was mafia guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, then they got in trouble. Now I was still hanging around and staying in contact, but me and Frank were starting to split apart because there was a lot of drugs were going down. You know what I mean? And I
You're all
just
over that. You're like on a ship. You're all over the place there.
I'm sorry. Let me move this one thing.
That's all right.
How about now?
You're good
Sorry.
now. Solid.
All right, anyway, so Frankie and me were starting to fall out. I started to question, and I was no angel with drugs. I was doing drugs with him, doing coke, and I just couldn't deal with it no more. I was 25, 26, or 27, I don't know, right in that area, 2080 maybe. And I was engaged, and I just couldn't deal with the drugs no more. And I split from him. Like I started, we just talk on the phone here and there. And the old man would say, "What's going on?" And I said, I didn't want to say nothing to the old man, telling reasons, because blah, blah, blah. So I started splitting away from that. And in the meantime, the G was indicting a lot of guys, and I put myself more into politics. So I was working. I really got involved in young man. I was really involved with Harold Washington. I really started, and that was in '89, I think, or '86. But anyway, in that same period, I was really starting to get involved with Harold Washington, because Harold Washington Mary Washington was trying to elevate young guys of all colors. Things we couldn't get with Daley, we started getting with Washington, all colors. And I hate to sound like this righteous guy, but he was a good mayor. So I started involving myself more in the politics, coordinating campaigns, coordinating different areas for the Democrats. I was working areas, precincts, election day, and I started moving up, getting better jobs and getting more recognized and put in positions of a senior citizen program, an analyst program. They started really seeing some talent in me, and they were putting me in spots. But I was also sponsored by the First Ward. The First Ward was the Alfred Ward, but they were they had the judges, they had everything over there.
That was strong. They were strong there.
Over there on LaSalle Street by Councilors Road, which is a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm.
So I started getting involved big time. I started making some decent moves politically, and Harold Washington dies. Now there's this huge vacuum. There's rioting in the streets. We don't know who's going to take over. They had the big meeting, and they come up with this consensus candidate of Sawyer. And I'll just fast forward because that's a whole another historical thing. But now anything that was there with the mob and the politicians was really starting to crumble. Even Harold Washington kept a lot of guys intact. He really didn't bother the outfit. Okay. Anyway, so this is falling apart. They've come up with Richie Daley too, the young Daley. He comes, they first get Sawyer. Daley beats Sawyer. Now there's a whole new regime. There's a whole new atmosphere. There's a whole new, Daley is going to change things. It's not going to be like it was, but yet it was, but only a smaller circle. Yeah. I started seeing what's going on. I was out. I was not, I worked for Daley. I coordinated for him, but he used a lot of us, you know what I mean? Just to get in. Once he got in the door, his core group of guys were going to be taken care of. I called them the Irish mob from Bridgeport, 19th Ward, Mel's Ward. Yeah. Guys like us were out. The Italians were out, a group of Italians from Bridgeport, but ultimately I was out because I was not in their, I was not with because I was with Jane Byrne, number one. And Daley paid back anybody that was with Jane Byrne. But anyway, I survived. I did my job, did what I was supposed to do, watched a lot of crap going on, guys, doing their thing. But the big thing was he started knocking out jobs, like cutting budgets, but giving the money to contractors. Unions were selling out, no more, taking care of guys. It just was all falling apart. Mm-hmm. And, I started opening my mouth. I said, what are we doing here? Because I want to say around 90, you know what I mean? 1990, he won his second or third election. He was going to win forever now. And I knew we were out. The city worker, he did not need anymore. And I'm a city worker.
Yeah.
So he started, I could see the writing on the wall. Contractors were coming in. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to open my mouth now. I can't take this stuff. So I started writing letters, making fun of Daley. Like, he's saying there's no money, but yet he spent, 30 million on the bean, or, there's no money for the contracts, but yet there's money for Maggie Daley. I started really making fun of him, and it caught on because the papers were printing it. I started getting more attention, but in that same token, they started getting on me then.
Sure.
So what's your problem? And I decided to run for office. I ran for office on the Northwest side. Everybody came at me. I ran against Mike McAuliffe, who was a real power. The Democrats and Republicans went after me, which is it's a whole nother thing we'll talk about one day. And now I'm on the outs. I'm blacklisted by everybody. I ran against Daley's people. I ran against this. My father caught a lot of heat. Johnny DeFranza, came up to me. So what are you doing? Mayor Stevens called me. Said, what are you doing? What are you going to get out of all this? I said, I'm tired of everything. I'm tired of this game in this town. You know what I mean? You either you see God or you just, and I'm not no big, I'm no angel, but I seen the control. You wake up and you see this town it's really wired, and it's some evil people. The outfit is still around. The politicians, they control everything in this town.
So now you're seeing yourself, you were in a good position. So you had a city job. You were hanging around with outfit guys.
Right.
Then you're getting tied in with the politics, and you, in a sense, shoot yourself in both of your feet. Now you have no friends.
No friends. Nobody.
So where do you go from there?
Well, they gave me no alternative. I go to the outfit guys. Listen, help me out. This Daley is ruining me. His people. Well, we got to deal with them. Go to the politicians and the friends I used to have. Hey, stay away from me. You're heat. And it was known Cocanate is heat. And I wasn't really talking to them. I was just talking political issues. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
But I said, these guys give me I could do two things: move away and just shut up. I still had the job at the time. I didn't get fired yet.
So you still had your city job.
I still had I had 28 years.
So at least you still got that.
Right. So I tried to, be quiet and just go to, they wouldn't let me. The Daleys in I call them the Irish outfit. They're very vengeful. They went after me. They sent me south into Inglewood. They had me throwing pellets and swords, took me out of my title. I said, it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
My dad was dying at the time of Alzheimer's. They can care less.
Yeah, they don't.
So then I ultimately started opening my mouth even more, this is what's going on. Anything that went on, I had helicopters going over the sewer department with these rain blockers, which were a big farce, a multi-million-dollar problem. And Walter Jacobson did a lot of stuff. Jim Wysella, all the reporters were all over me, and I didn't hide it. I figured if they're going to fire me, I'm going to build a lawsuit. You know what I mean? Because they weren't going to fire me or let me go.
Did you think at any point, though? I mean, fire you? That's probably the best thing that could happen to you at that point. And if you got the heavy politicians against you, you got the outfit guys against you. Did you think at any point in time that you decided to not stop talking, that you're going to get clipped sometime?
I did. I think the more attention that was on me, the less the chance these guys were going to do anything. That was my theory. And it actually, as time went by, both were catching a lot of heat. The mob was, then Family Secrets came up and, what have you. I was mentioned in Family Secrets, nothing big. Joe Lopez made a point of talking about me to the attorney. But it was just a weird time where I felt like, you're so hurt. You're so beat up. It's like you come to a point, you don't care no more. You don't care.
Yeah.
But I didn't think they'd fire me. I think they would give me some late little room, like suspend me. They fired me.
They fired you?
Well, they heard me on a radio show. I was on Mike North's show. I told them, you better move your picture. He had a picture up at Tony's Delis in Edison Park. You know where that's at all?
Yeah.
Anyway, Daly used to go there. So Mike North had a picture above Daly's because they loved him over there by Tony's Deli. So I said, you better move your picture because one of these days a city worker is going to throw a Tony special at Daly's picture, and the special jardinier is going to roll right down on your picture. They heard that. They heard it. They go, he's on the radio. He's on the radio. That's how paranoid they were.
Yeah. So
eventually they did fire me. They fired me. And I brought Jesse Jackson around for mayor. And like I'm rushing through, and we'll sit down and really center on these things later.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you have two choices. Like I'm saying, it's like almost a vision. Either you stop, shut your mouth, and just live your life as a mute and just go about your business, or say, you know what, F these guys, fuck them. I'm going after all of them. I was a loyal soldier all those years. I did everything I was told to do. And they fucked me. And they did fuck me because they fired me, took my pension, after 20 years.
They took your pension?
Well, I had to pull it to pay lawyers, and all I needed was 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah. So I lost my pension, and nobody cares, believe me. So I had to survive. I had to learn to survive, and I went out there and hustled, work campaigns, third or fourth level campaigns. But in the process, I was ruining them, exposing. They'll tell you he didn't hurt us, or I exposed a lot of stuff, a lot of their game. And in that time, the outfit, it was falling apart, and family secrets came up. And to me, family secrets was the big blow to the outfit.
So what was your part? Obviously, that we had not a huge part, but we had a role in that. What was your attachment or role in family secrets?
I was I brokered the stories with Frank Calabrese Jr. and Steve Womber of the Sun-Times.
Oh, okay. I know Steve. Steve's a really good guy. I know Steve for a long time.
He's sharp, smart man. But anyway, I was close. Frankie was feeding me stuff, but Frankie let me know what he was going to do. And I was brokering, whatever. I would go to, actually, we flew to Arizona, me and Womber, to meet with Frankie Calabrese.
Okay.
And Blacko too. So my role was to put out there things before it was even out in court, put out some stuff.
Okay.
Background. But as the trial itself, I did not go against anybody. And by the way, it's a point I like to make. I never wore a wire on nobody. I never went to the G on nobody. I did everything right out in the open. With these guys, you're a beef or you're a beef. I'm not a beef. I go right in your face and tell you what you did. You know what I mean?
Did you ever go to the trial any of the days?
No. I actually was told by Frankie's attorney, I think.
Lopez?
Not Lopez. I'm talking about juniors.
Junior. Okay.
Yeah. It's just, no, I didn't go. Because I knew it would be.
Did you find that hard not to go?
Yeah, I did. Because, I like the attention. I like that.
Well, you love the attention, but that was also that was like the hottest fucking ticket in town.
It was, right. You're right. And everybody was there. And actually, I don't even know if I could have got in.
There are so many fucking weirdos that showed. They're just like, I forgot what they call them. They're like the courtroom junkies. They just like, half of them look like they're homeless, and they show up and, and they sit and listen. And
yeah, you know how some of these mob groupies are. They just want to think they know what's going on. And ultimately, we both know what's going on, that this game is a ratty fucking game. I mean,
so did you still have any contact with Junior while Family Secrets was going on at any point while he was locked up or anything?
Time. Yes, all the time. I'd visit him. He was in Arizona or wherever he was at. We'd meet, we'd talk. I mean, he said he would get mad at me sometimes because I would leak stuff that shouldn't be leaked. But yeah, we talked all through the trial. Actually, when he first got out, when Calabrese first came out, Frank, I went and saw them, right? And when he came out and told me what he was going to do, I was like, I didn't say, you know what, how could I tell him what he was wrong when I was not right. I don't want to use the term rat, but I was talking to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was going to the paper on everything.
Yeah.
But when he told me, about he said, I'm going to do something, you're going to really, I want, let me explain it when it comes out. So then when it came out, we actually flew to South Beach,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me all what's going on. We drove around Florida, and he told me everything, why he did it, what he's doing, why, just the whole story. And I was, I was stunned, but it was over then. It was done. He wore the wire. He did everything.
Yeah. I mean, once that, that was,
it was done. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm no one to judge you. And I did things I did, and I feel strong that I can't, you did what you did. Now you got to live with it. You know what I mean? And I did think he was going to get killed. I did think, I'm going to go with this guy. I'm going to be loyal, but I could end up getting killed with him. I thought at the beginning he was going to get whacked by Barcelos.
I thought that as well. I'm like,
well, even you, when you was your dad, when they were putting on the heat, I thought Marcelo and them, because they felt you were drawing heat. You had a agenda to find your dad's killer, but in their mind, you were putting heat on the rest of these guys.
Yeah.
And that's what they felt with Frankie. I think you were just as much in danger of getting whacked or beat up by these guys as Frankie, but for different reasons. What I mean?
There was plenty of times I tried to get killed, and
you're right.
I mean, it didn't work, but so you go through all that stuff, you break free, but then you still stay in contact with Junior. You help through some of the family secret stuff. I mean, where do you go? Where do you go now? I see you're all over Facebook constantly with the statue and with all the political stuff. And then I pretty sure that I saw a little post that you put together that you're going to run for office.
Yeah. Well, I've always wanted to be elected. I just didn't have, and I still maybe don't have the money, but I think you got to look for an opportunity. And when Pete Silvestri was Cook County Commissioner, decided to retire, I said, let me jump into this spot and see what I can do. And getting back to the post and the exposing of stuff all the time, I feel like that's my life till I die, is to try to expose these, I call them parasites, these evil crooks. They're crooks, and they're using, if they're not going to a place and rot, they're stealing the taxpayers' money. And they've figured out a system to constantly come after and take our money. And I know you give them a little roadblock, it agitates them. And if that's my role in my life, I'm going to do that. I'm going to just keep exposing them. They hurt my life, but I've recovered with they hurt my kids. They took my house. I lost my house, but we recovered. My wife stuck with me through thick and thin, where if she left me tomorrow for a guy, I'd still help her. You know what I mean? Loyal. My kids learned so much from this, and they're successful because they saw how corrupt things are. I'm talking from the crossing guard to the judges to the police. And I'm not saying all police, but in this town, in this county, if you're blacklisted, you're dead. There's nothing, there's nothing you could really get job wise, court. You know what I'm saying? You're tagged, and it's a dangerous thing. And if I could open that up a little bit, and I'm not being naive, it's good for everybody. Because
that's going to be.
Go ahead.
No, that's going to be my next question. So you have the powerful machine, as all of us have called it. What makes you think that powerful machine is going to let Frank Cocanate get elected?
Well, I hear a couple things. They're not like they were. They're not. as controlling as they used to be. They don't have the loyalty they used to have because they're not taking care of a lot of people anymore. There's a smaller group of people. And if you keep enough heat on them, keep enough eyes on them,
Mm-hmm.
I think I could win. And if I don't, I go back again to keep criticizing and exposing these guys because I do know their game. When you read their book, how they do things, it's hard to get away with some stuff, and
Yeah.
might not be every trick they do or every little scam, but I'll catch one of them, and I'm open about it. I don't hide it. I
Yeah.
put it out. And before we go, I do want to say, I'd like to talk to you about Johnny DeFranza being the informant, because I was with Johnny from day, his family. We hid Johnny DeFranza's son. I'm sorry, not his son. Johnny's brother, Joey,
Mhm.
when they wanted to kill him. My family hid him, my dad. Johnny was there. Johnny, that with the family secrets.
Yeah.
But Johnny's clout was Jimmy DeLeo in the 36 war.
Well, wait, Johnny wasn't at Family Secrets. That indictment missed him for Family
Right.
Secrets.
Exactly. But wasn't he there that day? Or he
I
wasn't there. You
don't
were
think
there.
so.
No, all right. But there's just so many things that's got to get out there. You know what I mean?
So wait, so now you're saying, because I've heard this before and I've heard it from a couple other people, but there's been this back and forth about DeFranzo being a cooperator. He was cooperating with the feds, and not just for a short period of time. From my understanding and from other people that I'll bring on the show, and other people talk about it as well, but that he was cooperating for 20 plus years.
Well, I don't know, but I do know a deal was made to save his brother. I do know that Johnny went to Jimmy DeLeo and others in that 36, because Jimmy DeLeo was very close to Obama. And, the people are going to go, oh, he's not. It'll come out.
It's coming out because other people have talked about it already.
Because Nikki Calabrese stated in transcripts who was at that hit in Bensonville, who killed the Spilotros. And even
Spilotro brothers.
Pat Spilotro, I think, even made a comment. Why isn't Johnny going?
Yeah.
He was there. Now, how all of a sudden they pull him out of it. My theory, because I was told from an investigator with Frank Calabrese, this, oh my God, Joe Miles. Joe Miles worked for Frank Calabrese. They were going to Holder. Mark Holder. Oh my God, my friend, he'll kill me. The U.S. attorney.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's something we'll get into later when we have the documents. I know you have some documents going on.
Yeah. Right now,
Johnny was not this.
Right now, this is all I have right now. It's just about 50 pages, but there's a lot more. So
That's what I'm saying, Joe. I mean, their family knows it, and he's not the only informant. Jimmy DeLeo, the senator, an informant.
and I heard that from Chuck Maselli and a couple other people that DeLeo.
Remember the corruption in the courts? He was indicted.
Mm-hmm.
They say all that. I just want, but those are the two main guys I definitely want to get out there, because everyone thinks they're these stand-up guys and they were rapping me and talking about me. I'm a man. I say it right out. I don't go to the G. I don't trust them as far as I spit.
Yeah.
I go out there to the press if they want to hear it. I go out there to the public, and if the public wants to believe it, fine. But we both know something. This state is in bad shape.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, and we pay and pay and pay.
Yeah, the taxes keep going up.
Right, for these politicians to get rich.
Yeah.
And
when you and I first started, I want to jump back to something else that you and I had talked about a couple of times, and I was obviously, I was like laughing about it when you would tell me the story, but then I started talking to this Chuck Maselli, and he was telling me the same story. I was like, holy shit, that's the same thing Cocanate's been telling me forever about Igor. The
You
barber.
know, like a barber.
Yeah.
The barber. What a character! What a character!
He told me he was a character, but he told me that barbershop was dialed in. I mean, that was the place.
Oh, I used to hang there in City Time over there in Belmont and Boston by
Yeah.
the high school. What is St. Pat's?
Yeah.
He was the barber to the outfit. Joey Lombardo, Willie Massino, Johnny, and he was in
Yeah.
the barbers union. He got thrown out of the union for selling license. I mean, it's all documented.
Yeah.
But this guy, Joe, you went there because he was like this when he's
Yeah.
cutting. And these guys are saying, they would go like Willie Massino, hey, it's crooked here. It's crooked. It's crooked. And I get the critique, but it was hilarious. I mean, it's a whole story in itself.
That's
I mean,
an entire story I would love to just dive into, because there are so many characters in and out of that place.
Oh my God. That place had the sheriff, Dvorak there. It had O'Grady. It had DeLeo. He had all politicians coming there. I mean,
Yeah.
he had a little cute manicurist, Mario Ramononi. You know him? I think I'm saying his last. He was indicted, and then he was part of the Lenny Patcher crew.
Yeah.
He wanted to beat me up one time because he said, "What are you messing with her for?" I said, "Messing with her? I just said hello to her." But I mean, nuts. Guys were nuts in there. That place was, you're right, wired. It was weird.
Yeah. He was in with everybody.
Yeah. Oh no, he was with, like I said, politicians, and then he was hustling everybody. He was selling jobs. He says, "Give me 150, I'll get you a badge with Elrod." I mean, this guy, I don't even know if he's still alive. He's got to be.
He is. He is still alive. Yeah.
I'm glad. I hope he hears this show because he cut my head off.
Yeah. You know Chuck, right? I mean,
yeah, I know Chuck. Yeah.
Chuck's very close with him. Yeah.
Chuck was with that. What was that organization?
Let's get, I'll reach out to Chuck. Let's do a show with both of you guys on.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about Igor's, and then you guys can go off on, DeLeo and all that other stuff. Cause I know you guys feel the same about it.
It was Lou Del Medico, Igor's. It was famous.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. It was a good show.
The time. I really do. All
right. We'll talk soon.
Together. Yeah, you got it, Joe. Take care.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. This has been another episode of Joey's Social Club. Come back next week for more hard-hitting stories from the Chicago underworld.